There is this quote in our source material today that just immediately stopped me in my tracks.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's from Robert Kirkpatrick. He's the director of UN Global Pulse. And he basically said, big data is the new plutonium.
Wow.
Right. He says, in its natural state, it leaks, it contaminates, it harms, but safely contained and harnessed, it can power a city.
Oh, that is a really striking image, plutonium. It
Yeah.
kind of completely changes how you look at the phone sitting next to you right now.
Oh, absolutely.
Because it's not just a tool for communication anymore. It's like this active radiating reactor.
And that invisible reactor sitting in your pocket is exactly what we are getting into today in this deep dive. We have a really fascinating stack of sources to go through for you.
We really do.
We are pulling from this massive, really comprehensive academic report called Networks of Control. It details modern corporate surveillance, and we're pairing that broad academic overview with 3 highly technical, incredibly detailed videos from privacy and tech educator Rob Braxman.
Which, I have to say, creates a pretty perfect analytical lens.
Yeah, how so?
Well, the academic report gives us the broader societal what and the why of global data surveillance.
Right.
And then Braxman's technical breakdowns give us the very specific how. Like down to the exact radio frequencies your devices are emitting to the world as we speak.
Right, which is just wild. So our mission today is to connect those dots for you. We're going to trace the line from your seemingly innocent online habits down into the mandatory software running your devices, and then all the way to the physical hardware that's, well, broadcasting your location.
It's a lot to cover.
It is. But we want to uncover this inescapable surveillance grid that's being built around you, and most importantly, how you can actually fight back. Okay, let's unpack this, because I really need to know how deep this rabbit hole goes.
Sure.
Let's start at the very surface. The things you actively click on, the things you intentionally buy.
All right, so this is the realm of psychographics. We are looking at how companies analyze your overt behavior to predict incredibly intimate details about your life.
Yeah.
And the Networks of Control report highlights a classic, almost foundational example of this. The Target supermarket pregnancy prediction algorithm.
Oh my gosh, I remember reading about this and just being floored.
It's famous for a reason.
Yeah, so Target wanted to figure out when their customers were pregnant because apparently the birth of a child is one of those rare moments in human psychology when your shopping habits become, as they put it, flexible.
Exactly. If a retailer can reach you right at that exact moment of vulnerability and change, they can lock in your shopping habits for years to come.
Which is huge money.
Oh, massive.
Yeah.
But the truly alarming part is how they actually figured it out. Because, if an algorithm simply looks for women buying maternity clothes or baby strollers, it's just too obvious.
Right.
By that point, they've already chosen a store, and it's too late for Target to corner the market. So instead, the data scientist looks for subtle statistical shifts in everyday baseline habits.
Yeah, the report mentions they isolated 25 specific, seemingly random products. And we aren't talking about baby food here.
Not at all.
We are talking about certain quantities of unscented lotions, specific brands of soap, hand sanitizers, and cotton balls.
Right, just everyday stuff.
Just the act of buying cotton balls and unscented soap at a precise time allowed Target's server farm to not only predict that a woman was pregnant, but to estimate her actual due date within a tiny margin of error.
And that leads to that infamous outcome where Target's automated system started mailing baby coupons to a teenage girl.
Oh, man.
Yeah, her father furiously marched into the store to complain that the corporation was, encouraging his daughter to get pregnant, only to find out a few days later that his daughter was in fact pregnant.
Target's algorithm literally knew her biological reality before her own family did.
It's terrifying.
It's like someone reading your tea leaves, except tea leaves are your cotton ball purchases, and the psychic is a billion-dollar server farm running predictive math.
That's a good way to put it.
But it gets even crazier when we move from the physical grocery store to the digital world. Because the report highlights a massive study out of Cambridge University looking at simple Facebook likes.
Right.
I mean, we're talking about the most generic clicks possible.
Yeah, this is the Kaczynski study from 2013.
Right.
And it really remains a landmark piece of research. They took 58,000 users and demonstrated that you could predict highly sensitive personal attributes with terrifying accuracy.
Just from likes?
Just by analyzing a web of generic likes. The statistical method they used is called logistic regression.
Okay, let's pause there for a second. For someone listening who hasn't taken a statistics class in a while, what exactly is logistic regression in this context?
Right, good question. Think of it as a way to take a giant, messy cloud of unrelated data points, thousands of random things a person clicks on, and it draws a single, mathematically precise line of probability through them to predict a yes or no outcome.
Got it.
It maps seemingly disconnected digital footprints to find hidden correlations that, honestly, a human brain could just never spot.
And the hidden correlations they found were wild. What kind of numbers are we talking about here?
Well, they found that analyzing an average of just 170 generic likes.
Which is nothing.
Right, nothing. Things as mundane as liking the TV show Desperate Housewives or a pop star like Britney Spears. That allowed the algorithm to predict if someone was gay with 88% accuracy.
Wow.
It could predict religious views with 82% accuracy, whether a user consumed drugs with 65% accuracy.
That's insane.
And this is the one that really highlights the predictive power. It could predict with 60% accuracy whether your parents stayed together until you were 21.
Just from what you absent-mindedly clicked on while scrolling, it's unreal. It also predicted political views, right? Like whether someone was a Democrat or a Republican, I think the accuracy was around 85%.
Yes, exactly.
And I want to point out to you listening right now, the algorithm doing this prediction doesn't care about the politics of it. It is completely agnostic. We are just looking at the sheer mathematical reality of the technology here, not taking any sort of political stance whatsoever. We're just reporting what the Cambridge study found.
Exactly. The machine is just solving a math problem. Your digital footprints, which are, often public by default, are just variables in an equation used to map out your most private self.
But wait, I have to push back here a little bit. Isn't this ultimately just targeted advertising? I mean, we've lived with that for over a decade. I look up a pair of running shoes, and a shoe ad haunts my browser for a month.
Sure.
It's annoying, obviously. But why is a machine predicting my age or my gender or my parents' marital status from my web searches actually dangerous to me?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, this data is absolutely not just being used to sell you running shoes.
Okay.
The Networks of Control report really emphasizes that this psychographic profiling is heavily utilized for social sorting.
Social sorting?
Yeah. Companies are categorizing consumers to determine a hidden metric, often called a customer's lifetime risk.
Oh, wow.
You are being invisibly evaluated for credit scoring, insurance rates, employability, and fraud risk based entirely on these profiles. And here's the truly chilling part from the academic report. Some data brokers literally categorize less profitable, higher-risk people as, quote, waste.
Waste. That is incredibly dystopian.
It really is.
So it's not about showing you an ad, it's about algorithmic gatekeeping. It's deciding what opportunities, what loans, what jobs you even get to see in life.
Precisely. And that is merely based on what you actively do.
Oh, right.
The rabbit hole goes much deeper when we stop looking at what you buy or click and start looking at how you operate in the world.
So even if I stop buying things online, use cash for everything, and never clicked on another post, they are still building a profile?
That's the terrifying part, yeah. You don't have to actively input anything. Your phone's mere metadata, the invisible logs of how the device operates in the background, is secretly administering a personality test every second of the day.
Just by being on.
Exactly. To understand this, we need to look at the Big Five personality model, which data brokers use heavily to map human behavior.
Oh, that's the one often remembered by the acronym OCEAN. Right. Openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism.
Correct. And the report cites a joint Swiss study with Nokia that proved researchers could predict these exact traits with up to 75.9% accuracy, purely from smartphone metadata.
From metadata, so not even the actual messages.
Right. They weren't reading the content of your texts or listening to your calls. They were just looking at the logs.
Wow.
App usage frequency, the timestamps of call logs, SMS metadata, and Bluetooth proximity pings.
So what does that actually look like in practice? How does a timestamp translate to a personality trait?
Well, they found highly distinct correlations. For example, if your metadata shows you frequently use the standard Office or productivity apps on your phone, the statistical model confidently predicts you are significantly less open to new experiences.
Really? Just from having the Office app open?
Yep. Alternatively, if your log simply registers a higher volume of incoming phone calls, regardless of who is actually calling, the machine classifies you as more agreeable and emotionally stable.
That's fascinating. There's also that Canadian study mentioned in the sources that can recognize your emotional state just by analyzing the rhythm of your typing. It's
Yes.
called keystroke dynamics, I think. It
Yeah.
measures the exact milliseconds between when your finger presses a key down on the screen and when it releases it.
Exactly.
So how long you hold down the space bar actually tells the machine if you're stressed out or relaxed.
It does. And when you combine all of these passive signals, the results are profound. There was a 2015 study by Yu and colleagues that proved computer-based personality judgments derived entirely from digital metadata are actually more accurate than judgments made by a person's own friends or family members.
I still can't wrap my head around that, but let me challenge the logic here for a second.
Sure, go ahead.
Say I organize my calendar perfectly, and I happen to type really fast on my keyboard one morning. The machine flags me as neurotic, but highly conscientious.
Right.
But what if I just had way too much espresso that day? I mean, I'm not neurotic, I'm just overcaffeinated. How does the messy reality of human life factor into this rigid profiling?
Well, that question gets to the very heart of the defining shift in big data, as described by researchers like Meir Schoenberger and Kukier in the source material.
Okay.
Modern data surveillance embraces probabilistic messiness. They simply do not care about exact, precise causality.
They don't.
No, they don't need to be right 100% of the time on an individual level. And honestly, they don't care if it was just the espresso.
Because they are working at such a massive scale.
Precisely. They rely on statistical correlation across millions of people. If the algorithm is right 75% of the time across a population of 100 million, that is entirely sufficient to automatically sort, rate, and categorize you for insurance or credit.
Wow.
They value broad correlation over individual causality every time.
Okay, so the software on my phone and the metadata of my habits have built this inescapable, highly accurate psychological profile of me. But historically, that profile has somewhat floated in the digital ether, right?
Yes.
It sounds like the next massive shift, which Rob Braxman details in his research, is that laws are now being passed to legally and permanently bind that floating profile to your verified, unavoidable physical identity.
Yeah, this is a critical transition in our deep dive today. We are moving from silent, passive observation to legally enforced identification. And the primary vehicle being used to push this through is age verification.
Right. Braxman makes a very clear distinction between two types of legislation happening right now. You have the state-specific porn ID laws, which basically require users to upload a driver's license to access adult sites.
Yes.
But Braxman kind of dismisses these as mostly theater. I mean, they only target isolated websites, and anyone can bypass them with a simple VPN, which just routes your internet traffic through a different state or country.
Exactly. The genuine structural threat, according to Braxman, are the operating system level mandates.
Okay.
He specifically points to California's AB 1043, which goes fully live on January 1st, 2027, and similar bills moving through places like Colorado.
And just to clarify our approach here for you listening, as we analyze laws like California's AB 1043, our focus is purely on the technical infrastructure being mandated. We are strictly neutral here, not endorsing or condemning the politics of the legislation itself. We're just looking at what the code actually does to your device according to the sources.
Right. And from a technical standpoint, these laws mandate that the operating system itself, meaning Google Android, Microsoft Windows, or Apple iOS.
The big ones.
Right. The OS must verify your age bracket at the fundamental device setup level. It must then provide an API for any third-party app to query that verified age.
And for anyone unfamiliar, an API, an application programming interface, is essentially just a digital bridge that allows two completely different pieces of software to talk to each other and share data.
Right. And Braxman details exactly how Google and Microsoft are building this bridge to comply with the 2027 deadlines.
Okay, how are they doing it?
Google uses something called the Play Age Signals API, which is actually wrapped inside their larger Play Integrity API. If a device is set up for a supervised child, Google generates a persistent, unchangeable alphanumeric install ID that follows that user across every single app they open.
Wow.
But if you verify as an adult, that install ID is null. It's just left empty.
Which is such a twisted, brilliant piece of engineering, because the absence of the install ID becomes the cryptographic fingerprint that proves you are a verified adult.
Yes.
It essentially forces users onto what Braxman calls normie tracking phones. Because if you try to use a custom, privacy-focused phone that blocks Google's trackers, apps will just refuse to run.
Exactly.
They'll say, I can't get the verified handshake from Google Play, so I'm locking you out.
And Microsoft is doing the exact same thing, but they are tying it to your computer's Literal physical hardware. They use TPM 2.0.
TPM 2.0, that's the Trusted Platform module, right?
Yes.
It's that physical security chip soldered onto modern motherboards and acts kind of like an unforgeable digital passport for your hardware.
Exactly. It proves your identity using hardware-rooted cryptographic keys tied directly to your Microsoft account. If you refuse to use a Microsoft account, you don't get the verified keys, and you can't run the software.
Right.
But here is the dark twist that privacy groups like the EFF and ACLU are desperately whining about. These systems are heavily marketed to the public as tools to protect the kids. But by generating a cryptographically verified under 18 flag that any app's API can read, you are inadvertently creating the world's most perfect grooming tool.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because the analogy that comes to mind is it's like hiring a bouncer to protect a VIP room, right? But giving the bouncer a megaphone to announce exactly who the vulnerable VIPs are to everyone else in the club.
That is exactly what it is.
If a predator codes an innocent-looking chess app or a chat game, they can just query the API in the background. When they get that under 18 install ID back, they know with 100% mathematical certainty they are talking to a real vulnerable child.
What's fascinating here is that the infrastructure being built serves a much larger ultimate purpose.
Which is?
Braxman argues that the endgame of this verified identity grid is client-side scanning.
Client-side scanning, just the phrase sounds invasive.
It really is effectively the end of meaningful end-to-end encryption. Once every device in the country has a legally mandated verified identity, and on-device AI is already running locally to estimate your age, the plumbing is fully in place.
It's all there.
Think back to Apple's attempt in 2021 to scan photos on your device before they were ever uploaded to iCloud, or Microsoft's recent Windows Recall feature that takes screenshots of everything you do.
Oh, yeah, people hated that.
Right. But mandated age verification provides the perfect political cover to make on-device scanning mandatory by default. The device itself becomes the surveillance camera, scanning your files, your photos, and your chats before encryption ever even kicks in.
So the operating system has completely locked down my software identity, but as Braxman explains in his other breakdowns, we aren't just fighting software here.
No, we're not.
The physical hardware of our devices is simultaneously betraying our physical location to the world, regardless of what apps we use. Let's talk about the physical broadcast, BLE and IPv6.
Yeah.
Starting with BLE, Bluetooth Low Energy.
So most people's understanding of Bluetooth is the classic version, pairing your wireless headphones.
Right.
It has a short range of maybe 15 feet, and it requires you to manually go into your settings and click connect.
Yeah.
BLE is a completely different beast. It is designed from the ground up as a fire and forget protocol.
It just silently sends out these tiny millisecond bursts of data every 10 to 12 seconds, right?
Yep.
And the range on this is staggering compared to classic Bluetooth. We are talking 100 to 200 feet indoors and up to 600 feet outdoors.
And almost every modern smart device is doing this constantly. Your iPhone, your Apple TV, your Amazon Echo, Ring cameras, Google Home devices.
They're all doing it.
Tech giants like Apple, Amazon with their Sidewalk network, and Google have essentially turned all consumer electronics into hidden global mesh networks. The devices are constantly pinging each other silently in the background, reporting on who is near whom.
But wait, I know Apple and Google randomize your device's MAC address every 15 minutes. For anyone unfamiliar, a MAC address is like the factory-printed network name tag on your device's Wi-Fi or Bluetooth chip. If they constantly randomize that name tag, shouldn't that protect your privacy from these trackers?
Well, that is the illusion of privacy. Braxman points out that because the BLE signal has such a wide range and is inherently tied to physical space, the randomized MAC address is totally useless against triangulation.
Really? How does that work?
Imagine if a hidden tracker sees a specific device pinging from the exact coordinates of your living room couch.
Okay.
And 15 minutes later, that device changes the digital name tag, but the physical signal is still bouncing from the exact same corner of the room with the exact same signal strength.
Oh, I see.
The tracker knows it's the same device. They don't care about the name tag. They know you have an iPhone 14 and Apple TV, and they know exactly when you leave the house for work because the physical pings physically leave the house.
Man, which perfectly transitions us to the second physical broadcast nightmare, IPv6. Because if BLE tracks me walking down the street, IPv6 is what tracks me inside my own home, even when I think my Wi-Fi router is keeping me private.
Exactly. To understand the danger of IPv6, you really have to understand the protection of the old system, IPv4.
Right.
In IPv4, we only had about 4 billion IP addresses globally. We literally ran out of them.
Yeah.
Because they were scarce. Your internet service provider would give your entire house one single IPv4 address. Your router then acted as a shield using a process called NAT, Network Address Translation.
So IPv4 was like having a massive apartment building with one main front desk that handles all the mail.
Good analogy.
The outside world, the advertisers, they only ever see the address of the front desk. They don't see the individual apartments inside. But IPv6 gives us 340 undecillion addresses, which is 340 followed by 36 zeros.
Yeah, it's an incomprehensible number.
Oh.
And because there is an infinite supply of addresses, the front desk is eliminated. ISPs like Starlink and mobile carriers now assign IPv6 directly.
Directly to the device.
Yes. Every single smart device in your house, your smart washer, your laptop, your TV, your teenager's phone, gets a direct, unique, unshielded internet address that faces the public web.
It is literally like taking the front doors off the apartment building and giving every single toaster and TV its own personal street address for anyone to look through.
And the way the IPv6 address is structured is the real issue here.
How so?
Braxman explains that the first 6 blocks of the alphanumeric address identify your specific house's location. The last 2 blocks permanently identify the exact piece of hardware.
Oh, wow.
This is a surveillance goldmine for commercial trackers like Google and Facebook. When a website supports IPv6, their trackers can bypass your router's NAT shield entirely.
They just walk right in.
Right. They aren't just seeing traffic from a house. They can literally watch the granular traffic of your household, seeing that Dad's laptop stopped sending packets at 10 p.m., while the teenager's phone started streaming data at 10:05 p.m. They map the comings and goings of individual family members just by watching the raw device traffic.
It is staggering when you put it all together. But look, our deep dive wouldn't be complete if we just left you listening with the sense of impending doom.
No, definitely not.
Braxman's sources actually provide specific, actionable, technical loopholes. It's time to talk about counter-surveillance. How do we actually fight back against this?
Let's start with the physical BLE broadcast. Because those millisecond pings are physically flying through the air around you, you can actually catch them. Braxman recommends an open-source app called BLE Radar, which you can download via F-Droid.
And F-Droid, for those who don't know, is just an alternative app store for Android devices that focuses exclusively on privacy-respecting open-source software.
Right.
But you have to be on Android to do this, right? Because if you are on an iPhone, Apple locks down the hardware so tightly you can't run this kind of deep network scan.
Yeah.
You are, as Braxman says, just a victim of the network.
That's right. But with BLE Radar on an Android or a de-Googled phone, you can turn the tables. You can map the iPhones, Apple TVs, and hidden AirTags around you up to 600 feet away.
That's pretty cool.
It is. You just tag the stationary things you know, like your neighbor's smart TV, as safe. And whatever red dots are left moving around with you as you drive or walk, well, that's who or what is actively following you.
It gives you eyes on the invisible network.
Exactly.
And for the IPv6 issue, where your router is exposing all your devices, Braxman has a very clever hardware fix. If your ISP, like Starlink or your cell provider, forces IPv6 on you, you can simply plug an older, strictly IPv4 router, like an old Netgear, into the back of your Starlink modem.
Yes. You hide your Wi-Fi network on the Starlink side so nothing connects to it, and force all your family's devices to connect only to the older Netgear router.
But how does that actually protect me? If the Starlink is still feeding it internet, aren't I still exposed?
No, because by forcing the bottleneck through the old IPv4 router, you force all your traffic to utilize carrier-grade NAT, or CGNAT. Instead of giving your toaster a unique public address, CGNAT acts like a massive blender at the ISP level. It takes your household's traffic, mixes it together with 500 other households in your region, and spits it out onto the internet under one giant shared IP address.
Oh, that's brilliant.
It strips away your unique device identifiers and hides you in a massive crowd, completely blinding commercial trackers.
Okay, that handles the hardware broadcasts. But what about the OS-level lock-ins we talked about? The 2027 California laws and the Google Play Integrity APIs.
Right.
Braxman says the biggest holes in the surveillance grid are de-Googled phones, custom operating systems like BraxOS or GrapheneOS, and Linux distributions. The law technically applies to them, but because they are open source projects without a central corporate overlord, they will likely just ignore the mandate.
Yes, they will.
But I have to ask, as a realist, I can use an app to spot the BLE trackers, and I can wire up a secondary router to block IPv6. But as these laws roll out and every mainstream app developer starts demanding a verified Google Play integrity check, aren't we just delaying the inevitable? Will these de-Googled phones just stop working with normal life?
Well, this raises an important question, and Braxman acknowledges it head on. We're looking at the fracture of the internet, a two-tier digital world starting around 2027.
A two-tier internet.
Yeah, people who use stock, Apple, Google, or Microsoft devices will get a seamless, easy experience, but they will be fully, inescapably tracked and verified at all times.
The normies, as he calls them.
The normies, right. On the other hand, privacy-conscious users on de-Googled phones or Linux are going to face incredibly high friction. You will encounter endless CAPTCHAs, your banking apps might refuse to load because they can't verify your OS, and streaming services will block you.
That sounds exhausting.
It will be. But that friction is the literal price of keeping the open, private, anonymous internet alive. It is a conscious, difficult choice you will have to make.
So what does this all mean? Let's recap the journey we just took. We started with psychographics. Target looking at subtle shifts in your cotton ball purchases to predict a pregnancy.
Right.
Cambridge University, using 170 generic Facebook, likes to predict your sexual orientation and whether your parents stayed married. Then we saw how metadata takes it further. The microscopic rhythm of your typing betrays your emotional state, and your app usage categorizes your personality better than your own family can.
And the final piece of the puzzle is how that floating psychological profile is now being physically chained to your body. Operating systems are preparing to mandate hardware-level age signals, forcing you into a verified identity grid.
Yeah.
Simultaneously, your hardware is blasting your physical location via BLE up to 600 feet, while IPv6 gives every appliance in your house a direct, trackable street address, completely bypassing your router's traditional defenses.
Your autonomy is literally on the line here. You, the listener. When a network of machines invisibly scores you based on statistical correlations and quietly categorizes you as valuable or waste, your choices, your financial options, and your life chances are being manipulated without your consent.
And I'll leave you with a final thought to mull over. We've seen how terrifyingly accurate predictive analytics have become.
Yeah.
We've seen that the infrastructure for mandatory client-side scanning is actively being installed on every device under the guise of safety. If algorithms can understand your psychology better than your spouse does, and the device in your pocket is legally mandated to scan your files, how long until companies or authorities stop using data to predict your behavior and start using it to preemptively punish you for thoughts or correlations you haven't even acted on yet?
Man, that is incredibly heavy, and it brings us right back to the beginning. Big data truly is the new plutonium. It is radiating all around us through the walls of our homes, and it is entirely up to us to build the containment suits. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. I guarantee you're going to look at your phone and your router a little differently today. Stay safe out there.